To them, you were just ordinary, a forgettable face in the crowd. They believed your role, your presence, could be replaced as easily as changing a coat. But now, the silence you have left behind is a roar that tears their self-assurance to shreds. Have you ever poured out your very soul, turning every breath into a prayer for them, only to be treated like a lifeless ornament, as if your kindness was a debt they were owed, a privilege they were entitled to, as if you were merely a backdrop for their lives? The truth is this, my chosen soul, you were never just there. You were a move in my divine chess game, an intervention woven from the threads of heaven itself, a mission decreed before they ever knew your name. They didn't see it. They couldn't feel it. Not until I commanded you to walk away, not until your absence plunged their world into darkness. And now, they stumble in a panic of their own making, horrified to realize that what they cast out was not a person. It was a gateway to my favor. This message is not a sermon for the masses. It is a sacred secret, reserved for those who carry my mark, those who are hidden blessings, yet are publicly rejected. You do not need a platform to change an atmosphere. Your covenant with me does that. Your prayers built spiritual fortresses that their arrogance never allowed them to see. And yet, they treated you like something disposable. But something has shifted in my kingdom. The air where they stand is now thick with a curse. The peace has been revoked, and now they are forced to confront the one truth they always ignored. The covenant bearer is gone, and that absence has unleashed a spiritual famine, because when you leave, my covering goes with you. You did not lose, my child. You did not fail. You were rescued by my hand from a toxic environment, protected, sheltered, repositioned for a greater glory, and as for those who dishonored you, they are now learning a lesson seared in fire. Not every blessing is replaceable. My chosen one, if this fire is burning in you, I want you to declare it in the comments. Inscribe 99, because the 99 who think themselves wise will never be whole without the one piece I myself have chosen. And if you haven't, connect, share, and ensure this decree reaches every chosen soul who has been misunderstood, mistreated, and is now being elevated by me. Because what comes next is a reversal the world has never seen. Are you ready? They were expecting a spectacle, a savior to arrive with power, titles, and human recognition. But that is the way of the world, not mine. When I want to shift an order, I don't send a celebrity, I send a covenant, bearer, and that person is you. You did not enter their lives with loud proclamations. You did not force your wisdom on them. You simply existed carrying my presence. With a heart I purified, a spirit I attuned, ready to be a channel of blessing without demanding anything in return. But they couldn't recognize the power standing right in front of them. Why? Because the world is blinded by spectacle. It only sees what glitters, what is loud. But me, I hide my greatest treasures in humility. While they were chasing illusions, you were quietly establishing order. While they were looking for leaders on a stage, you were leading with patience and in silent spiritual warfare behind the scenes. You carried a fire they were too busy to feel the warmth of, but that fire was sustaining them. Every time you chose forgiveness over offense, every time you chose peace in the face of chaos, those were acts of spiritual warfare on a level they could never comprehend. You were the gatekeeper between their chaos and my peace, but they mistook your stillness for weakness. They thought you were just being kind, but you were executing my orders. They thought you were sensitive, but you were operating in divine discernment. They thought you were passive, but you were silently carrying battles that would have broken them, because I made you to be a quiet storm, gentle in appearance, but unstoppable in purpose. They wanted a warrior with a sword, but I sent a peacemaker carrying my shield. And because you didn't arrive with a trumpet blast, they ignored you. But you see, my chosen one, invisibility is part of my concealment plan. I often hide my most powerful weapons in plain sight, only revealing their true power when they are removed. You weren't there to impress them. You were there to shift the order, even if they never knew it. But now that you are gone, everything is different. The peace is gone. The light has been withdrawn. The stability they took for granted is collapsing like a house without a foundation. And only now are they beginning to understand that your presence was never ordinary. It was strategic. It was heavenly. because the way I use my chosen ones never follows human logic. I hide kings in the form of servants. I place world, holding pillars inside people they deem disposable. You were that pillar, holding up structures they never knew were fragile, but you didn't scream for recognition. You simply stood your post, doing the work I assigned you. And now that your post is empty, the cracks are showing, the foundation is shaking, and the silence you left is screaming the truth louder than your words ever could. But here is the turn they did not see coming. Your absence is not the end. It is your revelation, because what they considered ordinary is about to be revealed as the one thing they cannot live without. My chosen one, stay with me, because in this next moment, you will understand why the void you left is not just an emotion. It is a spiritual verdict, and the weight of that truth is about to change everything. When you were there, everything seemed anointed. The atmosphere was light. Relationships flowed. Opportunities simply appeared. But no one understood why. They thought it was luck. They believed it was their own hard work. But what they never saw was the invisible force holding everything on my divine track. That was you, your presence, your covenant with me. You were the spiritual anchor, keeping their ship from being dashed against the rocks of chaos. You weren't loud about it when they were arrogant. You prayed for their humility. When they made mistakes, you took the spiritual backlash for them. You were the invisible stabilizer, the silent shield absorbing the fiery arrows of the enemy they didn't even know were aimed at them. But now that you are no longer there to absorb the shock, the impact is direct and devastating. The small arguments escalate into hatred. Insecurity seeps into every corner. The peace they breathed like air has vanished. Because the truth is, you weren't just present. You were maintaining a divine order, and they never realized it until that order collapsed. Suddenly, the air is suffocating. The plans that were once perfect now fall apart, for no reason. The flow of favor they relied on has been cut off. It is not that the world changed, it is that my covering has been retracted from them. You see, when I place a chosen one in a space, they become an ambassador of my kingdom. You don't just enter a room, you claim it for me. But when dishonor comes, when my gift is taken for granted, I withdraw my presence. And that is precisely what is happening. They never thought your absence would matter, because they never understood what your presence carried. They were too busy looking at your humanity to see my mark upon you. But now, the weight of your absence is undeniable. The equilibrium is gone. The lightness has turned into an unbearable heaviness, and they are beginning to realize you weren't just helpful, you were essential. Every door you prayed open, every relationship you fought to protect, they are now crumbling, because the invisible thread holding it all together was your covenant with me. They are feeling the gaps. They see the fractures. Not because you cursed them, but because you blessed them in ways their pride would not allow them to recognize. Now silence is their cruel teacher. Every failure they face, your absence whispers a lesson. Every moment of chaos mirrors the order you once maintained. You never wanted to be the center of attention. You only wanted to do my will. But now, the empty space you left is the most powerful voice in the room. They used to mock your discernment. Now they are drowning in their own foolishness. They used to call you too extreme, but now they are desperate for a single drop of water in the spiritual drought your presence once quenched. And here is what they still don't realize. Your absence is not a punishment. It is an exposure. I am using distance to teach them what they refuse to learn up close. But let me warn you, chosen one, this is only the beginning, because when I remove a vessel, I also remove the access that came with it. Follow me, because right now, we will go deeper into why rejecting a chosen one doesn't just shut a door. It triggers a tectonic shift in the spiritual realm, and that is when the weight becomes unavoidable. When they dishonored you, in their minds they were just rejecting a person. But in the books of heaven, they were rejecting a covenant. They saw you as just an eager person, but I saw you as the delivery of the very solutions they prayed for in desperation. They didn't realize that rejecting you was not a personal insult. It was an act of war against spiritual order, a move my kingdom will respond to. You were not there by accident. You were a dispatched vessel, an answer to their problems, wrapped in humility. And when they chose to dishonor the gift I sent, they activated an immutable, divine law. The law of sowing and reaping, not human revenge, not karma, but a principle of the spiritual universe. Because when you reject what I have anointed, you don't just close the door on a person. You are shutting the gate to my operations. That is why everything became difficult. Why doors that once swung wide open are now sealed shut. It is not bad luck. It is dishonor creating a spiritual barricade. Where there was harmony, division now reigns. It is not because I want to harm them. It is because your presence was a protective veil, and they tore it with their own hands. They didn't know that mocking your spiritual sensitivity was the same as disabling their own alarm system. They didn't realize their disrespect wasn't hitting you. It was hitting me. And when that dishonor reaches a certain point, I intervene, not with thunder, but with silence. A divine silence that withdraws grace from environments that refuse to honor my vessels. This isn't about ego, this is about order, and dishonor shatters divine order. You see, my chosen ones are an extension of my authority on earth. To reject them is to bite the hand that feeds you. It is not an instant destruction. It is a slow rot from the inside, a gradual exposure of what happens when the covering is gone. What was once protected is now vulnerable. What was once blessed is now barren, and those who felt invincible begin to feel the ground shake beneath them. But here is what they never saw coming. This consequence is not for revenge. It is designed for revelation. I allow the environments that reject my chosen to experience the void, so they might finally see the value they once overlooked. They thought they could dishonor you quietly, but dishonor, no matter how subtle, is a roar in the spiritual realm. It sends a message to my throne that says, "We do not value what you have sent," and heaven responds in kind. Resources dry up, peace evaporates. Opportunities are delayed, not out of spite, but as a mirror reflecting their own rejection. They broke the bridge, they cut the connection, and now the very lifeblood that sustained them has been rerouted. But here is what they don't expect. The blessing they mistreated is now being repositioned to a place that will treasure it, and the contrast between your prosperity and their decline will become a permanent reminder that dishonor is expensive. My chosen one, sear this into your spirit. You were never the cause of their collapse. You were the final opportunity they failed to take. And while they grapple with the consequences of their own choices, I am writing a new chapter for you. A chapter where your value will not just be recognized, but celebrated. But before we get there, you need to understand the power you carry. Because while they were looking for noise, you were silently moving mountains. Follow me. Because right now, I am going to show you how you changed their destinies, and they never even knew it. Listen to me closely. My chosen one, they cast you out. They underestimated you, ignored you, and treated you as if you were worthless. But I never do. To them, it was rejection. But in my kingdom, it is promotion. They thought your departure was a failure, but your absence, in fact, is the opening act on a divine stage where your true purpose will be honored. Those who once looked down on you will now feel the weight of your absence as a verdict, and the places that once pushed you aside will be forced to watch as I set you on thrones they can never reach. The void they feel today is not a punishment. It is an echo of the power your presence once held. They are being forced to learn the lesson of what you silently protected, and you are being purified and prepared for new dimensions, where your essence will not be misunderstood, where your light will not be dimmed, and where your mission will be executed without resistance. You were not made to fit into a decaying world. You were made to establish a new order, and you are now about to be placed in positions of authority where every word you speak will carry the weight of a heavenly decree. They thought your departure would silence you. They were wrong. Your silence is the thunder before the storm. Remember this, my chosen one. You are my legacy. You are my weapon. You are a vessel of my power, and the season of your concealment is over. This is the beginning of your revelation. The world has not yet seen what you carry, but soon, doors that only open for those who have endured the weight of misunderstanding will swing wide open for you. That is why I decree to you now, stand up straight, fortify your spirit. What I am about to do through your life will shake the very foundations of those who once looked down on you. If this word has touched the mark within you, write in the comments, I am the rejected covenant. Announce your new identity, because your testimony will be the key that sets thousands of others free, who are also shamed but are about to be restored to glory. Your season of honor is at hand. Your mission is not over. It has only just begun, and this time, no one and nothing will dim your light again. Prepare yourself.